नमस्कार फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम टू अनदर एपिसोड ऑफ सेकंड इनिंग्स। मैं अनुराग, आपका होस्ट और दोस्त। मैंने आपको इस चैनल के माध्यम से कई सारे लोगों से मिलाया। दोज हु हैड फैंटास्टिक प्रोफेशनल लाइफ, दे टुक अ sabbatical, they became entrepreneur, they became businessman, a few turned creative. They are all playing the second innings very well, and they had lot much to share with all of us. They shared their success stories, their learnings, their joys, their grief, and I'm sure we all have learned a lot from them, in fact. पर मैंने आपको उस इंसान से नहीं मिलाया who was a brainchild behind this channel called Second Innings. Yes, Jitendra Rahi. To you and to others, he is Jitendra Rahi, but in the corporate world, he is called as Jitu. Jitu had a fantastic, corporate life. His first innings was amazingly well. He was one of the topmost executives in many companies, in fact, and companies to reckon with when I say so. Now he too has a second innings and he's playing it really very well. In this episode, Jitu is going to talk to us about his life, about his journey, about his learnings, and how to deal in these extraordinary times. Also, his views, how things will change, next when the COVID episode is all over. So friends, let me welcome Mr. Jitendra Rahi on this video, and who will share so many fantastic things with all of you. Good afternoon, first of all. How are you?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's such a pleasure to be interacting for once, not personally face to face, but through a video call.
Yeah, and actually देखिए हम लोगों ने बहुत लोगों से इंटरव्यू किए, बहुतों से बातचीत करी, पर आपकी बातचीत रह गई थी. तो I thought this is the right time when you should also come. The world should know that who was the force behind the entire program, channel, concept, and who is Jitendra Rai or who is Jitu Rai in fact.
Well, yes, I did get a lot of queries when we started second innings, saying that why have you not started by sharing your own story first?
जी.
But then I think the intent was to, get others, people who have been far more successful in their second innings, and who can be motivating enough for everybody else who has been contemplating or is already playing their second innings. So that was the whole intent. And well, here is an opportunity for us now, since we all locked down or locked inside our homes, that we can talk about ourselves too.
He has been very modest about saying it, and as I told you, he had been one of the most successful guys. And how do I know Jitu is because I have worked with him in telecom industry, and I know telecom industry swears by his name. So he's trying to be very modest. Actually, he has been hugely successful in telecom industry. So Jitu, please tell us, how would you describe your journey, your corporate journey?
My corporate journey has been a long one, Anurag. I was all of 21 years of age when I picked up my first job, and the first job was in Bombay. I had still yet to graduate. In fact, I still remember that my final year BCom results were still awaited, and I thought that I should not wait for my results to come. I made a CV of my own, and I walked into all the placement agencies of Nariman Point in Bombay, seeking a job. And my CV actually very clearly said that BCom final year expected percentage, and that's how I went around hawking my CV to all the placement agencies. And I happened to walk into an agency once who said that there is a company in Tulsiani Chambers in Nariman Point. They're looking for some sales guys. If you're interested, go walk in there and appear for an interview. I just walked across to that company and appeared for an interview, and I got selected. And in those days,
Wow.
the interview call or the confirmation of appointment used to come through a telegram, and telegram was a very scary word in those days. So जब घर पे telegram आती थी तो घर वाले घबरा जाते थे कि telegram आई है. But for a change, it was for a good news. So that is how it started way back in 1984. And yes, I had some very interesting innings throughout. I worked in various industries.
No, there's one more question, with it. We are all, and in fact, I should not be asking it, but yes, I'll dare to ask you, what was your first package?
Okay, okay, that's very interesting. 1984, I joined this company called Novopan India Limited. It was a Hyderabad-based company which was into building materials. And my salary as a sales trainee was exactly 1,000 rupees per month.
Wow. I
Consolidated.
started my career. Oh, I began my career in 2000. Sorry, 1997, December 1997, and my first paycheck was somewhere around, I think, 3,500 ruपया.
हाँ तो ठीक है,
This is
मतलब
how.
उतना ही हो गया इन्फ्लेशन का रेट, अगर
Oh, no,
उसमें
no.
अप्लाई कर लो तो उतना ही हो जाता है.
Yeah.
But it was very interesting days. I remember 1,000 rupees consolidated salary, and उसमें से भी हम हर सैटरडे को जाके एक बियर पी लेते थे. और और आई रिमेम्बर तब कलर टेलीविजन का जमाना आया था, तो आई वेंट टू माय डैड एंड सेड के पापा वी शुड बाय अ कलर टीवी, एंड ही सेड वेल आई कैन नॉट अफोर्ड वन. So I made an offer to him. I said, fine, do one thing. You make the down payment and I'll pay for the installments. And I still remember, out of those $1,000, I was able to pay for that EMI for the color television that we bought home, and also have my beer on Saturdays. So it started with that. Then went on to work with another famous organization. It became very famous later, called Modi Xerox, and owe a lot to that organization in terms of the training and the learning that we had in that organization with respect to sales. And I remember, when we came out of a training program in Xerox, it was with the confidence that there is no question to which we don't have an answer. So that kind of changed the entire perspective of a salesman, and the confidence level that we had, thanks to that organization, was of a very, very different level altogether. I think to my point, if you were to ask me that what was my inflection point in my career, I think that was one inflection point, and very early in the career, hardly a year old in terms of a job profile, and that kind of just changed me, or rather, I would say, changed my professional personality, and from there was no looking back. So after that, I went on to I went on to work for various organizations, various industries. So I ended up, after selling copiers, I've ended up selling air conditioners. I used to sell air handling units. I used to sell air curtains. I've sold electronic typewriters. I went on to sell EPABX systems and push button telephones. I sold Ashok Leyland trucks. I used to sell Maruti cars. And then I got into events and back to office automation. And then telecom happened to me. So my telecom journey started in the year 1997 when I joined BPL Mobile Bombay as a senior manager, taking care of dealer sales. We used to have only postpaid business at that time. There was no prepaid business. Started there. And the telecom is what stayed with me then since then. And I think out of my total of 35 years of sales experience, after my 35 years of total experience, out of my 35 years of total experience, I think I've spent close to 25 years in telecom. So I can say that, I am a telecom guy.
And in fact, Jitu, what I remember, when I joined telecom, I think it was year 2000, October. I remember the date precisely, October 16th, 2000. And then I came to know, and in fact, when I met people, and they tell that telecom industry is largely shaped in the initial years by the guys who had come from Modi Xerox. Is it right or not?
I don't know whether it was by design or it just happened, but yes, a lot of people from Modi Xerox, and Modi Xerox used to churn out a lot of people at a very, very fast speed. So you did find a lot of people from the office automation space finally coming into the telecom space. It may be because of the fact that to a certain extent, when we were with the office automation industry, we were probably closer to technology. And when telecom came in, it was all about technology again. So probably that was the connect. So maybe the understanding of a person who came from an office automation background was better than that of anybody else in terms of understanding the initial days of telecom. Obviously, later on, telecom got completely swarmed by the FMCG people as the distribution and the prepaid distribution in specific kind of took place.
See, you were in telecom. You had seen telecom from inception, to the flattening of the curve, right? So now, how do you reminisce, and what were the major points wherein telecom industry went into a different orbits? What were those points of inflection wherein telecom industry went into different orbits altogether?
Very interesting. I think I've spent most of the interesting time in the telecom space. As I keep joking with everybody, uh, I was fortunate to see the sunrise of that industry and the so-called sunset of the industry. So been through it. Started off the telecom carrier when the call rate used to be at 16 rupees 80 paisa, and finally when I called it quits with telecom, we were giving voice free. So only data which was being charged. So I've been through the entire cycle, I would say, of the industry. To my mind, when we started off, of course, it used to be only postpaid, and you know it was largely bundled handset driven, and that is how the whole industry started off initially. Lots of collaborations between the operator and the device companies, be it Nokia, Siemens, Motorola, Ericsson at that time, and we used to do the bundling and then sell it along with the value tariff plans and go about doing it. To my mind, the first point of inflection which happened in the telecom space happened with the advent of Reliance when they came up with the 501 product, which was the launch of Reliance in the telecom space. So that kind of shifted the entire space of telecom to the next level. So to my mind, that was the first one which happened. The second one which happened was when incoming calls were made free. That kind of took it to the next level. And after that, I think it's been more or less of distribution driven kind of initiatives which took the industry to the next level, because as you started rolling out the networks, the users kept coming in. So it was just a matter of getting your reach in place in terms of not only the network but also the distribution, which kept going to the next level. And I think the last inflection point is something that everybody is aware of. It was a inflection point, or it was a disruption point, or whatever that you may take it, was the advent of Geo in this
Both,
space.
exactly.
And so data never got its due before Geo came into the space.
Very
And
true.
today, I think the the entire culture of this country, I would say, uh, the lifestyle, the culture, everything has got changed because of just one fact, which is the easy and cheap availability of data in the
Very
country.
true.
I remember, from being one of the most expensive in data in the world to becoming one of the cheapest countries in the world in terms of data. That is what India achieved in a short span of probably 1.5 years after the advent of Geo.
So how has data changed the entire ecosystem of this country? Can you just elaborate on this also? In fact,
Uh,
because it is being said that data is the new oil, data is the new oil. So how it has changed?
well, the very fact that you and me are right now sitting and talking to each other using data, there cannot be a bigger proof of it than than this.
Very true.
Imagine you being locked down in a similar situation 20 years ago, when there was hardly any data which was available. Okay, so you can imagine how the whole scenario has changed today with
Yes,
the
yes.
lockdown. With the work from home, stay at home. Uh, initiatives that people are talking about. Organizations are today talking about how they're going to be changing their way of working, how the work culture is going to be a different one going forward. Uh, how learning from home is happening. Students are not going to schools anymore or colleges anymore. The classes are being held online. Uh, I think we are seeing the I would say not an, I would not call it intrusion would be the wrong word for it, but data seems to have kind of seeped into every aspect of our lives now, and be it shopping, be it learning, be it conducting our business. Uh, we see data playing a very important role. It's become the backbone of our lifestyle. It's become
Hello.
तू पंगे ले रहा है, छेड़छाड़ क्यों कर रहा है?
नहीं, मैंने कुछ नहीं किया, अपने आप ही हो गया सर।
अच्छा, अपने आप
आई
हो
जस्ट डिडंट डू एनीथिंग, अपने आप हो गया था।
गया। Okay. Uh, so I think we are seeing data working in all aspects of our life. Okay, so it's I would say it is a data culture which is kind of seeping in now, and it's going to be there for a long time because this is just the beginning of data actually entering our lifestyles. We're going to be seeing a lot and lot more of data being the backbone of everything that we do in life, with artificial intelligence, with home automation, with uh, machine learning, everything coming into this space. And for
Very
all
true.
of these initiatives, the backbone is data. So data is actually changing our lives, and it's changed our lives actually.
Very true. You work with many companies, in various positions and roles, and with many industries also. So, as you have said that that you can be termed as a telecom guy, but still, which was the best company that you have worked with? If you would like to answer this question.
Uh, I probably it would not be right for me to say which was the best company to work for. Uh, but I would definitely like to kind of rephrase my answer there and speak about the industry that I enjoyed the most working in.
Jay.
The
And
industry.
and 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 also, I'll ask you one question: who was the best boss? And the worst also. In fact, you have to tell today.
uh, I'm still consulting. I'm still not out of the space. Okay, so you'll have to spare me on that. But yes, I'll attempt. I promise I'll attempt to answer that question to as close as possible. So coming to your first question, that which was a place that I enjoyed working the most, I think I would say that it's been the telecom space, and it was the initial days of telecom space which I enjoyed the most. Where we had a good run at that time. It was challenging, a lot of competition. I remember initially it used to be a duopoly, but in a duopoly, it was cutthroat competition per se, and we used to always talk
Very
about
true.
the Coke versus Pepsi kind of examples to look at and learn from. And I think that was the most enjoyable time. You worked hard, you party harder, you worked hard and you party harder. It worked very well. It worked very well. And it used to be like a family. We used to really work like a family, very close family. So I think the initial days of telecom is what I would say were the best times that I had in my career. Uh, I was very fortunate. I would say I was very fortunate to not have one but multiple people to mentor me in various organizations, and I can very proudly say that I took learnings, different kind of learnings from different kind of bosses. So I would not be able to pinpoint one person, but the fact is there have been people who have influenced me uh, very positively, and if it was to do with man management and team leading initiatives, I learned from somebody in how to actually be a team leader, how to actually be a part of the team, how do you effectively be a good man manager. So I learned that from one of my bosses. I learned how to go beyond sales and understand the other nuances of business from some other bosses. Okay. Uh, Also, how important it is for you to know your business 360 degree. So, I being a commerce graduate, I had never shown any kind of inclination to understand technology because to me, being in sales, the backup or the technology was given. Okay, so when we talk about network, for example, in the telecom space, to me, network was given. So my debate with my bosses has always been that give me the network and I'll give you the distribution, for example, or I'll get you the business. So I would say that a network is given. But then later on, as I grew in my space and when I went on to actually lead organizations and also be responsible for the P&L of the organization rather than being responsible only for sales or marketing. I realized that it was important to understand and learn what goes behind all this. And I think thanks to some of my bosses there again who actually forced me to understand the technology part of telecom also, and it really became very very interesting then because once you understand a business 360 degrees, you really enjoying you really enjoy doing that business, and you understand those things. So uh, I remember there were times when the network guys used to be scared of having meetings with me because I would ask them questions which they would not have answers to and they would come back to me and ask me, sir, आपने engineering कहाँ से की हुई है? I said, I have done my engineering in an institute called Telecom. So that is what it is. And given the fact that we all come from a sales background, I think we've been in the market, we've met various kind of people, people from different space of life. So if we actually assimilate all that information that we get from the marketplace, you become so much richer in terms of knowledge, and that knowledge helps you when you're trying to learn things which are technology based or all the other things which go into it, finance. uh, Very very important. I firmly believe that to be a very successful head honcho or to be a very successful businessman, it's very very important for you to understand finance. If you understand finance, uh, you can actually do wonders in whatever space that you are in. I know a lot of people who've been excellent in marketing, very good in sales, brilliant in technology, but not so good on numbers and not so good on finance per se, and they've not been able to grow off beyond a certain point. I think that's a very very important. So uh, uh, I used to volunteer myself for all programs which were finance for non-finance executives, and that really helped. That really helped. So that's the space that I have been in, and that's how the whole journey has been. And or yeah.
This in fact motivates me to ask next question, which is in fact related to it only. So you had been there, you had seen from top also, and tell me how different it looks when you see from the top, other and when you see from bottom. When you look up it, look up, look up, up, and then how different it is, and how does a manager, or how by manager I mean to say the person sitting at the helm of the affairs, how does he tries to minimize the gap between the top rung and the lowermost part of the leadership or the company in fact.
uh, Good question, but a difficult answer. uh, it's first and foremost, as you grow up the ladder, I think you get more lonely. Okay, so as the saying goes that it's lonely at the top. I think it's not a, it's just not a saying. I would say it's a fact, because when you're sitting in that corner room all to yourself, okay, you feel isolated. You feel a little lost, because I would say you not exactly lost, but you feel a little disconnected. So it's very very important not to get into that space of being isolated or disconnected. Uh, You have to find your ways and means of being connected with the system. I would say being connected to the grassroots level. I think very critical, and it's only possible when you do it physically. So for me, the simple formula when I was occupying that corner room was to ensure that I spent sufficient time or adequate time in the market space. Okay, because once you go to the market,
Very true.
you get a pulse of what is happening there, and there cannot be a better learning space than the market space which is there. कोई बात नहीं चलेगा.
चलेगा. That's a part of now, working
Yes.
from home culture kind of thing.
Yeah, these kind of interruptions are welcome actually. Okay, and coming back to your question, so very difficult when you grow up the ladder. Very difficult. It gets more and more difficult because you're getting away and away from the reality. So you need to find your ways of being connected, as I said. नीचे से जब ऊपर देखो तो आसमान बहुत बड़ा लगता है और सोचते हो कि यार ये पता नहीं कितना बड़ा है, लेकिन ऊपर से जब नीचे देखते हो तो बड़ा छोटा दिखता है. ओके, बट वो छोटा होता नहीं है, वो दूर होता है एक्चुअली. तो उसके पास उसको अगर अपने पास लाना है या आपको उसके पास जाना है तो उसके लिए तो फिर आपको मैग्नीफाइंग ग्लास चाहिए होता है. तो वो बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है दैट हाउ डू यू कीप मैग्नीफाइंग what you're seeing from a distance to finally reach a point where you can start seeing at a micro level. So there is a tendency of getting more and more macro as you grow in up the ladder, but at the same time it's very important to also understand the micro economics of business. So you need to I've always worked on a formula called the power of one. So if you break down that big business plan into smaller business plans and apply the power of one formula, it becomes much easier for you to conduct your business whilst you're sitting there all alone.
Amazing. You were a national head for one of the telecom companies, and then you were in so many steering position and roles and all. So and from you, yes, definitely, not many people must have got motivated to do the way you have done it. So how do you define winning? And what it all takes to be so much successful or to win in this corporate world, because out there's a huge competition, and as and when people move up, the pyramid gets becoming smaller and smaller. So what it takes, and how do you define winning?
So as I told you, Anurag, the first and foremost thing that you need to do is to understand the business 360 degrees. If you have to win, it is very important for you to understand your business 360 degrees. Okay, to my mind, that will help you to be successful. And I would not talk about a term called winning in the corporate space. I think it's being successful rather than winning, because it's not a race that you're running in which one person is going to beat the others and occupy that podium space. It's not that. It's about how successful are you in the space that has been given to you. So my belief has always been that no matter what is the portfolio or the profile which is got assigned to you, if you are able to do justice to that profile or to that portfolio, you are a winner. So everybody in his own space can be a winner. Everybody who's successful in his own space, I would say, is a winner. So I would define winning in the corporate space in that aspect, that if you have delivered more or equal to what was expected out of you, I think you've won it and you've been successful. And yes, there are different factors which are important for you to understand. So as I said, you need to be a 360-degree manager to be successful. I have always put top priority to the team. Okay, so I would very proudly say that whatever I achieved in my corporate space, I was able to do that because of my team. So I firmly believe that you cannot be better than the team that you have. Uh, if you have a good team, if you have people who are more efficient and better than you, then you will be successful. And it's
Very
all
true.
about how you manage those team members. I think that's the most important part. You may not be a master of every aspect of business, but if you have a team of people who are experts in their own space, then you come out winning. That's to my mind the mantra of being successful in the corporate space.
Okay, and see, you had successfully launched so many products, in telecom. I remember like Hachka Chota Recharge, you were there in telecom, and it was a huge, huge success. So many distribution models also. Like you had remember. I remember one of the models was when you were in one of the companies. It was called as Bandhan kind of thing. I don't remember the exact name. It was basically a distribution relationship program. So and you were involved in planning also, and you were involved in execution part also. But tell me one thing, how do you see which is more important, in corporate world, for a company or for a team to win out in the marketplace? Is it the planning or is it the execution part of
Well, it's both. You need to be a good planner and you need to be a good executor, because both the things cannot run independently of each other. If your plan is good, but if your execution is weak, you will fail. Your plan is weak, but your execution is good, it won't help. But you need to find that balance. It's very important. At times, you may be very weak on planning, but you may be very good on execution. And at times, it may be the vice versa. Uh, not everybody is as efficient as Sachin Tendulkar, who can bat left-handed as well as right-handed with equal amount of comfort.
it? Is it
Uh,
true?
so yes, he's ambidextrous. Okay, so he's able to do that. He is a left-hander by birth, but you've seen him batting as a right-hander.
Yes.
Okay, so when he writes with his left hand, not with his right hand. So anyway, coming to the point, I think it's very important that you identify what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. You find experts who can strengthen those parts of your personality where you think you're weak. Okay, and once you have that team in place, which kind of fills up those gaps for you, okay, you work on your strengths after that. So, to my mind, planning and execution goes hand in hand. However, I would also put in another aspect to it, that when you are trying to execute, most of the time people do the mistake of focusing on the result more than anything else. I think it's very, very critical to focus on inputs. So after planning, the next step, which has to be foolproof, is what are the inputs which are going into your plan, because it's the inputs which will decide what the output is going to be. Okay. The output may
Very true.
have different factors impacting it. There could be some factors which you can control. There could be a few factors which you cannot control. They could be market factors. So it's very, very important that you know what are the inputs and what are the right inputs and how are those right inputs to be implemented in the marketplace. So if you input it right, I can tell you 99.9% of the time you will be successful. But
Correct.
most of the time, most of the managements of most of the organizations do the mistake of not focusing on the inputs right. So,
So
that term, that very basic term that we keep hearing about, back to the basics, is something which is easily preached, but not practiced so much. If people were to really take it in letter and spirit and work on the basics and continue to work on the basics over a period of time, things will be simple, things will be easier, and things will be more. हमारे पास एक टेंडेंसी हो जाती है कि यार ये तो मैंने पहले किया हुआ है, तो अब ये क्यों करूं. बट हम ये भूल
hmm,
जाते हैं कि जो पहले किया था तो इफेक्टिव था और अच्छा काम किया था, तो व्हाई नॉट गो बैक एंड डू द सेम थिंग अगेन.
Very
I
true.
think
Very true.
these are some of the mantras, I would say, of success as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, now this in fact reminds me to ask you one more question. That is for for budding executives who wish to reach very high in corporate life. What is more important? Is it the role or is it the designation?
Role.
Okay.
I'm
Is
very
it
clear.
the okay, and is it the role or is it the salary package?
Both. Okay. Personally speaking, I do not somewhere subscribe to that very standard answer given by candidates saying, "Sir, money is not important. It is the role which is important." I think it's equally
Very
important.
true.
Both things are
Equally.
equally important. I think money is a motivator for majority of the people, and
Very true.
it is important that that aspect of your uh, life is taken care of. If that is taken care of, then you are able to deliver in a much better manner than otherwise. Otherwise,
Very true.
you tend to keep having that as a baggage that you carry on your back always, saying यार मैं रोल तो मेरे को बड़ा अच्छा मिला हुआ है लेकिन मेरे पैसे कम है यार, and then you tend to you know divert your attention. Probably you're not able to focus the way you're supposed to be focusing on a particular job per se. So to my mind, it's the job which is important. But between a job, as you asked, is it the role or is it the designation? I'm saying it's the role. Is it the role or the money? I'm saying both. That is how I would put it.
One more, Jitu, now with this COVID scenario and all, I think sooner or later it will definitely get over, and people are dying to go back to college, off to their offices and all. However, there is a certain amount of fear, when executives, and how would companies now behave, and how would business shape up? So, what is your take on it? And how do you how would you guide people? What should be done in order to overcome this anxiety, and what should be how would the future unfold? In fact,
It's a very broad question. Frankly speaking, I look at it as a very huge opportunity. So I'm an
oh,
optimist. I'm an optimist, and I see it as a very very big opportunity coming everybody's way. If you're in a job and you're not sure whether that job is going to be staying with you or not, because lots of organizations are going to be resizing. Uh, the demand on reskilling is going to be very very high. Uh, it's going to be more of the skilled people who will be demanded by the industries. People who have been in generic roles and administrative roles probably will find it a challenge to retain their jobs. And at the same time, if you see on the other hand, uh, more and more opportunities are coming our way. uh, यार ये तो कुत्ते भौंकना शुरू कर देते हैं यार मेरे घर में गलत टाइम पे, क्या करें अभी?
no, but that is we understood this is a part of the interviews, happening at home. तो चलता है बस, बल्कि
हाँ,
अब बंद हो गया था.
हाँ. So coming back to this point, I think very very important point. So on one side, yes, there is a fear, and rightly so. I mean, it's not a misplaced fear to my mind. I think it's a fear which is justified uh, per se, because everything is going to be changing. So yes, there will be a challenge with respect to jobs which do not require such specific skills. But at the same time, as I said, there is a huge opportunity which is going to be available in terms of new businesses. So I, for once, will advocate a fact that people who are in jobs and are not very sure about what is going to be happening with their future should start looking at alternate business ideas. It's going to be much more easier to work on business ideas going forward, because very clearly in the last 3 to 4 weeks that we have been locked inside, it's come out very very clearly as to what are the kind of businesses which probably are going to be taking shape. I am amazed with the number of requests I'm getting nowadays to attend seminars and conferences online. Okay, nobody really exploited this space to the extent that it has been exploited now, when there was no other option left. you and me never thought about conducting a second innings episode the way we are doing it right now.
Very true.
Okay. So this kind of opens up huge opportunities, be it in the space of education and learning, be it in the space of learning and development, be it in the space of e-commerce, online businesses, social media marketing, and I can keep going on and on. There are so many opportunities which are going to be coming our way. Is there a need to rush? I think there's no need to rush, because this is the time that we have got. Thanks to God Almighty that we've got this time and space for ourselves. This is the time to reflect. This is the time to actually introspect. This is the time to identify which are the gaps that you have in your professional space. This is the time to probably hone your skills. You still have a good 2 to 3 weeks to go before businesses probably are going to be back to normal. So pick up those things. There's enough and more content which is available online for you to learn new things. Enough and more time which is there for you to practice on maybe some of the skills that you had acquired earlier, you're not been using them for a long time. And probably get into a space which you would enjoy doing. Maybe somewhere down deep inside you had a desire or you have a passion to pursue something. And I, to my mind, I think Anurag, you are the best example of that. A thorough, out and out sales guy. In his second
Yes, very
inning,
true.
has become a radio jockey, a content writer, a host, an anchor. Okay, you are actually a perfect example of what people can actually look at doing going forward. Okay,
Very true.
if you're lucky, you will retain your job. Continue to do these things outside your job. Probably a day will come when you will find that it is this other role of yours which is now dominating, and probably the job that you're doing has become passive one. That is the time to take the call and switch. I was listening to this stand-up comedian Amit Tandon the other day. He's a perfect example of it. He had a good job going with a multinational, and that is when he decided to pursue his passion for comedy. And then as a part time evening shows is what he started doing as a comedian. And then it came to a point one day when he realized that he had enough and more requests for organizing stand-up comedy shows, uh, and that is the day he decided that, okay, I don't need to be in the corporate space anymore, let me shift. Okay. And he took that call and he shifted, and today that man
Very
is a successful businessman, I would say. And
Very true.
what is his investment? His investment is only and only into his skills, nothing else.
It is.
Uh, he doesn't even need a laptop to conduct his business.
Very true.
Okay, so there's enough and more which is there for us. So we have people who are honing their culinary skills nowadays. There are people who are working on their musical skills nowadays. So different people who are into. I have seen people who got into sketching. The people who are into craft. Everybody is doing something that probably was there deep inside him or her, and now kind of those are the kind of things which are coming out today. So if you can actually pick up one of those things and start working on it and think of it from a business idea perspective, I think you have the world available to you.
One more point, how would you see the conventional distribution changing? Will it change, or would it remain along with it? Online will also be equally forceful to reckon
Well,
with.
I was of the opinion till the month of February. I was of the opinion that India specifically is a country where you cannot wish away the brick and mortar distribution. Okay, and I thought that if online distribution is say about 12 to 15% of the business today, it would probably settle at about 20 odd percent. But with this pandemic, And post the pandemic, I wrote the other day an article on LinkedIn where I said that this could probably be called as AC, after COVID era. Okay, like just the way we
Okay.
have BC and AD, probably a new
AD.
term called AC is going to be used.
Yes.
So in the AC era, to my mind, online is going to be a dominating force to uh, for distribution. And yes, the traditional distribution is going to go in for a change. It's already gone for a change. Okay. So if I was to take telecom as an example and the prepaid recharge as an example, majority of the recharge businesses move to online. Okay. Even the operators are today, given the fact that people cannot move out of their homes, the only way for them to recharge is to go online and recharge. So if I have a smartphone, I can do it myself. If I do not have a smartphone, I can ask somebody who has a smartphone to do it for me. Okay, to that extent, the whole scenario has changed. Will it wash away or take away the entire brick and mortar distribution? The answer is no. So, to my mind, the way the whole customer behavior is going to change, lots of things will move online. But at the same time, lots of things are also going to move. And I'm actually now making a statement which is against what most of the other experts believe. I think you will definitely see a reversal happening from large format to small format as far as brick and mortar distribution is concerned.
Okay.
Whilst people are saying that more and more of the large format business is going to go up, I am saying that probably this is going to give a shot in arm to the mom and pop stores, which are all around. People will prefer to buy from a place close to home, which is not crowded, compared to going into a mall
Very
and
true.
buying where there is
Could
a
be.
lot of
Could be.
crowd which is there. Okay, so
Could be.
I have this very strong gut that that is how it is going to move. So the mom and pop stores probably which were slated to die over a period of time, to my mind, are going to bounce back. And at the same time, the traditional distribution model is going to take a beating, given the fact that online distribution is in space. So you will probably see a much stronger and a much larger omni-channel play at work. I think that's going to be the mantra going forward. It's omni-channel working which is going to work. A combination of online and offline, which is going to work together.
One last question, Jitu. What advice would you now give to the millennial kids, to the executives, to senior managers and people up in the line, in corporate world, to behave, coming forward, going forward, and after COVID era is over?
You're asking me to actually give a message to almost everybody. So
Exactly.
the message is very clear. It's going to sound very cliche, but that's the need of the hour. So stay clean, maintain hygiene, maintain social distance, and at the same time, last and at the same time, last but not the least, scale up. Scale up in terms of your skills. Either hone your existing skills to the next level or learn new skills. To my mind, you have to now upgrade your software. You have no choice left now but to upgrade to the next version of yours, which is going to be the 2020 version, which is going to take you forward. So if you are a 1963 model or a 1985 model, you are now ancient. You need to come back and on your skills, and that's the message to the millennial kids also, to all the youth. It's very important that they stay focused. I think for kids who are growing up now, they're anyway seeing a revolution which is happening with respect to their education, with respect to their learnings. So maybe they're going to grow that way. They'll probably go in that space. To me, the fear is for people who are probably 25 and plus, because they are going to get outdated very quickly now. So it's very important for them to match up with the skills of the youngsters, because the youngsters are all learning it online. They are all learning it digitally. They are all learning it through ML and through AI. So if a 25 plus person does not understand this language, he's going to be in big, big trouble. So hone up, skill up. That is my message.
Thank you, Jitu. Thank you very much. It was so wonderful to have a talk with, chat with you, and to understand how you have been there and what advice people can, what guidance people can take from you after the COVID is over and everything is over. In fact, thank you very much for being, you were the inspiration behind this channel, and now that you are over here to be sharing your all learning of journey of life and all. Thank you very much once again.
Thanks. It was my pleasure to be here. And my request to everybody is going to be that continue to watch second innings, because we are going to be getting in more and more interesting stuff out here. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
So friends, here was Jitu. Now to sum up what all he had said is, कि कोविड खत्म होने के बाद हम लोगों को बहुत सारी चीजों को छोड़ना पड़ेगा. We have to unlearn lot. And that lot is probably, what we had been doing it till now. The world order after COVID is certainly going to change. और हम लोगों को accordingly अपने तौर तरीके, हमारे skills, सब कुछ we have to change totally. We have to acquire new skills, in fact. So the time is right now, friends, so that we discard old things and we accept new things. I hope that you enjoyed listening to him, friends. And if you like our channel, please subscribe to it and please forward to as many as. Once again, thank you on behalf of entire team of Second Innings.